No, I actually had T-Rell too.
Really? Oh yeah. I've seen that. Yeah,
and you know, this is the thing about it. T-Rell was my neighbor. When I say neighbor, I'm talking about right next door to me.
Like recently or
no?
Back in the
This
day?
was a few. Let me see, maybe 3. He was my neighbor for about 5 years. I lived in that house up until about maybe 3 years ago.
Right.
But he was my neighbor for about 5 years, literally next door. I could, yeah.
It's funny because when T-Rell did that interview, we're all talking in the group chat, and he's like kind of new to going on other people's podcasts. And shit. I think that might have been the first one that he ever went on outside of our little universe here.
It was.
And he's very much like, you know, all right, so I'm just like supposed to show up. Like, he's kind of like wondering exactly what this is going to be like. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
And it's crazy because me and T-Rell, we didn't speak. I mean, we nodded to each other and different things like that, but we never spoke. Wow. When he came on the podcast, because P and Silk I had a studio in my house. So he said it wasn't until he seen P. No, he saw Silk and he fanned out because he was like, man, I was a big fan of Silk.
Really?
He said, I seen Silk at your house. I was like, who is this nigga over here?
So many people still say that. AD said the same thing. Yeah. When I interviewed Silk, he was pissed that he wasn't there.
Yeah, real talk. I had Silk on the show as well.
Right.
Yeah. You know?
That's dope.
And I think having Michael Jai White too. That's a friend of mine, but I was a big fan of Michael Jai White. I still am, even with him being my homeboy.
Right.
You know, I might be in Black Dynamite too.
Right.
Yeah.
You trying to get more into movies and stuff?
I've done some movies. We're about to start working on a Christmas movie right now.
Really?
Yeah. So I've done a few movies.
What kind of movie? Like, I mean, there was like such an amazing history of like hip hop films for a long time.
Yeah.
And now it kind of feels like that just doesn't exist the way that it used to, where like there are these big films that everybody knows and talks about.
Nah, bro, that shit wide open. You got to go to Tubi.
Tubi?
Yeah, Tubi TV got all the fucking hood movies.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, all the iPhone movies, all of that shit.
They make iPhone movies as
fucking
well.
Right. I don't know what their deliverable list look like. Yeah, they let anybody in that shit. Yeah, Tubi got all the hood movies.
Is that where Boosie hosted his as well?
No, he did his on his website, I believe. But Tubi is where, that's where all the hood movies, even a guy from my city, he's got a movie called Drought. And a Drought too, and hood, all the hood shits on there.
I bet if I made a movie and had T-Rell and Crip Mac in the movie, then I think I could make $1 million off that movie.
You think
sell it for $5?
But can you get it done without some bullshit kicking off?
CGI.
You got to shoot they scene. Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. You got to shoot they shit separate. Some green screen shit.
But the clickbait could be them both in the poster. Maybe I'm overestimating how many people would want to see this, but I feel like a lot of people want to see that.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know, T-Rell is a good dude, man. You know, I think he's I didn't realize how dope he was till he really came on my show, and I thought it was a shame because we lived next door for so long, you know, for about 4 or 5 years, and just, you know, he's dope.
That's the funny thing about him is that he's very focused on not hyping himself up.
Right.
Like he doesn't wear his accomplishments on his sleeve so much. He kind of keeps it to himself because he just appreciates people who are more low key and cool about shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes I see that where, like, you know, we've been having the conversation about like graphic design and who can put a photo shoot together better. And he's like basically saying that he would whoop our other homie Blasey in a competition of putting together a photo shoot or putting together a design or whatever. And I'm just like seeing how confident he is. And I'm like, but you never tell us about what you've done in this realm. And he gave us a little snippet. Yeah. But I'm like, oh, damn, like you're like the one dude on earth who's fucking being humble about their accomplishments out here in LA.
Man, like T-Rell, man, he's so unassuming. Even when I lived next door to him, like he didn't make a lot of noise. He just, and the first time we met, it was crazy because Uber Eats delivered his food to my house. So I just happened to look outside, I see the shit, and I'm like, this must be they shit. So I walk over there, knock on the door, and it's funny because he came to the door and I was like, man, I think this is for y'all. He was like, oh yeah. He's like, man, I appreciate it. They messed up. It was cold and shit. And so I went to shake his hand, and and so he said, and he said, oh yeah, this one fucked up here, my bad. You know what I mean? But he kind of laughed at himself. And so later on, you know, when I got a chance to know him here recently, I was like, man, that's dope. Like, dude, he don't take himself so serious. You know what I mean? But he's got good energy.
There's a clip that is on the No Jumper Clips channel where he talks about how Gucci Mane got offended because he gave him the left.
That. He did. That's what he did with me too. Yeah, because I guess he seen the look on my face. I was like,
Yeah.
What? Okay. And he was like, yeah, this fucked up.
But it's crazy because there's at least 2 other people that I can think of in hip hop who have like either like a busted arm or like they can't use their arm or whatever.
Who are those 2? You gonna say them?
I'm just gonna not even say, just because like they don't seem to really advertise it. I don't know if people really know.
Yeah, I know one right off the, but I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, I just don't want to like bully anybody or whatever. But it is kind of like a weird thing to have to deal with. I'm sure.
Yeah.
My attitude on it was always like, oh, something horrible happened to you that is not in your control at all. I'm not going to make a joke out of this or anything. AD and Duno completely on the other side of the spectrum there. They just were going. But that ended up being like a thing where they ended up having to have a conversation on the podcast about like, hey, maybe you shouldn't just make the same mean joke over and over and over to your co-host every week.
Y'all probably need some sensitivity training up in this bitch. But but the thing about it, I think if the other person is willing and open, it's all good. You know, T-Rell's a good sport. You know what I'm saying? Because even when he came on he was low-key trying to roast me on my podcast.
About
what?
What did he go with?
For one, I had on a fitted shirt. So he was, talk about, boy, that shirt tight as hell and, all of that shit. But, I mean, all in fun.
Okay, guys, we want to thank you so much for getting us to 100,000 subscribers right here on the Clips channel. If you want to support, please click that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 200K. Thank you so much.